Hi, I hope you're doing okay. Right now, I'm going to take you with me on a journey I took a while ago to the city of Luang Prabang in Laos, Southeast Asia. If things have been a little hectic or intense for you, you might want to take a few moments to yourself now for a couple of quiet, deep breaths to get comfy and to simmer down. If you're a fool for the leafy, romantic streets of Hanoi in Vietnam, the faded colonial architecture of Phnom Penh in Cambodia, or the religious drama of Chiang Mai's old temples in Thailand, you'll be equally beguiled by this lesser-known cultural cache nestled into Laos' northern mountains. Set at a join where the Nam Can River meets the great chocolatey Mekong, and enveloped by both, the small city is a patchwork of traditional, low-lying Laotian and European houses, the latter remnants of its time as part of French Indochina. It's a skinny peninsula, less than a kilometre square, and perfect for the traveller who likes to explore on foot. We arrive in the late afternoon, and Luang Prabang lies gleaming serenely in the dying sunlight. Its ochre spires, old wooden shop houses, and leafy, somnolent roads cast in a tangerine glow. Therapeutic chants rumble on the breeze from a monastery across the road, along with the smell of dust and the faintest hint of frangipani blossom. The weather is just the pleasant side of very warm, now that the sun has started to lower, and our bags suddenly feel lighter as we make our way towards the hotel, following directions given to us by a friendly shopkeeper near the bus station. We've been looking forward to coming here. Luang Prabang's change in status from remote outpost to tourist mecca has been relatively swift since a modern airport was finished in the late 90s, making it much easier to reach from neighbouring capitals like Bangkok and Ho Chi Minh City. This has lately transformed this former royal and religious capital into a beacon for discerning travellers and overworked vacationers. We didn't arrive by plane, however, but by a mildly terrifying 8-hour bus journey from the country's current capital, Vientiane. Terrifying for the number of hairpin bends negotiated by the large bus at some speed as it climbed from Vientiane's 170 metres above sea level to Luang Prabang's 305. It takes a strong stomach to arrive by road. Laos Communist government only opened the country to foreign tourism in the early 90s. Its hesitancy explained, perhaps, by the fact that during the 1960s, more bombs were dropped on the tiny country by the United States than were used in all of World War II. They did so in an attempt to destroy the Ho Chi Minh Trail that passed through Laos and to defeat the communist forces. The clearing of landmines and unexploded ordnance is still happening today. Laos also spent time under French rule in the early 1900s, and its influence can be found in restored colonial villas, 5,000 kilometres of roads dating back to the 1950s, and a fondness for baguette. Although Vientiane has sprung up and sprawled out as capitals do, at the time of our visit in the mid-2000s, the rest of the country is remarkably undeveloped, and the north remains particularly elusive. Hill tribes here are less in touch with the outside world, and tigers can still be spotted in its topmost reaches. Travellers here will tell you of a place of captivating charm. One of the reasons UNESCO, the UN's World Heritage Organization, intervened here in the 90s is because the town planning structure dates back to medieval times. Tiny neighborhoods make up the whole, each arranged around a temple known as a wat and a pond. The Buddha is said to have rested here during his travels. There are about 34 wats, one for every occasion. All are breathtakingly beautiful, but feel real and active. Younger monks carry out cleaning chores. Others bend over Sanskrit texts in shady corners. Many will stop what they're doing to shyly practice their English. As old as the place may be, it is shaped up for the 21st century traveller. The city's restaurants, hotels and spas have very much been upgraded in the last few decades under the beady eye of UNESCO. And today the city is the master of the double act, oozing antiquated charm on the surface, but with contemporary Asian interiors and fine culinary adventures lying within. We've chosen to stay in one of the smaller traditional hotels. Tucked out of the way on Namkan River, the sleepier of the two rivers, the Apsara is an old converted shop house with its facade painted a calming magnolia with teak balustrades on the veranda and a beautifully landscaped garden. It feels like a sanctuary. Most of its rooms have views of the river, or at least the trees that fringe it, and they feel quite upmarket, but interestingly designed. We're shown to an airy room with a polished concrete floor, high ceilings, modern Asian art on the walls, and a slender four-poster bed in teak. Wandering out to our veranda, we lean and look out across the garden and through the trees to the river, a pale, slowly flowing green-brown, tinged with the colours of the sunset. There's a distant hum of far-off traffic, broken sometimes by the harsh whine of a passing moped, but there is birdsong too, floating up from the riverbank. We've been told that the first place we should go to is to the Walking Street Market, which starts to take over the town's main artery street each night at dusk. We walk through a few quiet back streets from our hotel, past bicycles resting against pale, washed walls, and emerge into a warm-lit bustle of activity. The market stretches left and right, with small tributaries along its length, under clusters of blue and red illuminated awnings. The Laotians here sell a beautiful array of crafted goods, such as colourful silk scarves, hand-woven textiles, and posa, a paper made from mulberry bark. Many lay out their wares on blankets on the floor. We stop to look at a pair of textured woven padded slippers embroidered with elephants. The elderly woman sitting amidst her wares smiles and points to herself, saying that she is Hmong, from one of the hill tribes scattered throughout the northwestern hills. She wears a bright blue and pink headscarf, and though her face, suffused with wrinkles, suggests that she could be at least 80, she rises with ease as we pay her for the slippers and places her hands together in thanks. We get distracted by the wafting aromas of soy, ginger, coconut, and sesame, and follow our noses to a stretch of the market crowded with food stalls. Grilled fish and chicken on open flames compete with fresh mountains of cooked noodles and vegetables, watermelon slices, and golden coconut pancakes hot on the griddle. We each pile a bowl high and wander contentedly through the Malay for another hour, before returning to our hotel for a nightcap on our veranda, gazing out into the dark, quiet stillness of the riverbanks. The morning sees us waking up early, long before the full heat of the day. Tipped off by the young Laotian man on reception, we perch discreetly on the terrace of the Apsara to watch the alms-giving ceremony, takbat, that happens each day just after dawn. At an intersecting road just a stone's throw away, we see the backs of townspeople crouching low with humility at the side of the road, many holding bamboo food baskets. Walking past them slowly and quietly, eyes low, is a procession of young, shaven-headed novice monks in bright robes, splashes of bright orange against the dusty pink hues of a morning sky. Each carries a brass or chrome pot, secured by a leather shoulder strap and slung low about their hips, and into each one the townspeople place a small handful of food. Our new friend explains to us that monks rely solely on the donations that they receive, and that these alms are their main source of food each day. The ritual is long, he says, because there are around 200 monks to feed, and so it's better to appreciate it from a quiet distance. He was being diplomatic. We also find out later that the influx of tourists to watch the ceremony has begun to disrupt it, and many don't dress appropriately or observe the right customs. We take some time over breakfast at a shady table in the garden. It is a lovely fusion of East and West. Dense, fragrant Vietnamese coffee, toasted baguette and croissant, with a side plate of sliced mango and pineapple. The mango in particular is sweet and fresh. The waiter tells us that it comes from the hotel's own trees, but he has a twinkle in his eye when he says it, so we're not sure whether to believe him or not. Better you enjoy them, he says, than the fruit bats. We decide to spend the morning at Wat Cheng Tong, one of the town's most popular temple complexes. We strike out into the warm morning and stroll past wooden shop houses, guest houses, and tiny cafes. The temple is a sight. Heavily gilded and glinting in the morning sun, it is one of only 2 major wats that survived a destructive raid in the 19th century and has long been considered a gateway to the royal city. We stand and gaze at the heavy, low-slung terracotta-tiled roofs, the jeweled mosaics, and delicate gold stenciling. On the rear wall is a large, beautiful mosaic of the Buddhist tree of life, a symbol that connects heaven, earth, and the underworld. It rises over us, as high at least as a 3-story building, its deep orange, green, and blue hues glowing under the morning sun. We continue our walk, striking out towards the great, slow-flowing Mekong. Down by the riverside, fruit shake vendors set up shop, and we wander under the shade of riverside trees, snacking on a crunchy, tangy bamboo salad bought for as little as $1. Low-bottomed fishing boats drift along on one side. Ladies on bicycles coast by on the other, bundled up against the sun in straw hats and patterned scarves. But we are in the mood for a treat. Not far off is the Villa Santi, a former royal mansion, which in the 90s became one of the first high-end hotels in northern Laos. Though small, it's still one of the grandest. Swathes of polished rosewood give the place an old world smell. We skip the stately dining room for the terrace and dine on steamed fish with coconut, a lazy ceiling fan turning above. Laotian cuisine may not have travelled far, but it is appreciated for its distinct flavours, spicy, savoury, and often loaded with raw, fresh herbs and galangal. You're also rarely far from crisp white tablecloths in a decent wine cellar in Luang Prabang, which carries a whiff of French influence. Over the past 10 years, the international and fusion scene here has matured, and a few independent restaurants in particular offer an exhilarating experience for a fraction of the price you'd pay in Paris or Hong Kong. The heat of the afternoon sends all but the tuk-tuk drivers scurrying for shade as we walk back to the Apsara. And after a long, relaxing siesta, we emerge back into the daylight to partake of what we have heard is the famous sunset view from Mount Fuji. We make our way at a relaxed pace to the foot of this sacred hill, rising about 100 meters above the rest of the town. Gazing up a slope bristling with dark green foliage, we can just see the golden tip of the Fuji stupa. Monks and tourists overtake us as we slowly ascend the 300 or so red brick steps leading up to the viewing platform. A pair of black hens crosses our path, and we pass a range of statues and idols in gleaming gold leaf set into rocky outcrops. At one point, in place of a handrail, lies a long carved stone serpent. And at last we come upon the stupa in full, a glowing spire and dome in magnificent gold leaf atop a structure of grey and mildewed stone, presiding over the town. Beyond it, the slow-flowing Mekong, and beyond that, the misty hills, where, if you are lucky, or perhaps not so lucky, you may still encounter a tiger. And as the sun lowers and starts to dip behind those dark, distant hills, turning the sky around us to a faint blush, we smile and start to wonder about dinner.